Good evening. My name is Jim Kello. Welcome to New Tracks Meetup. This is a show where mentors help modelers build. We really appreciate you coming this evening. Hope you'll come back often. Hope you'll tell your friends about us and ask them to join us too. If you're new to the show, I hope you will register at our website, newtracksmodeling.com. And don't forget to confirm the email that'll be sent to you asking if you're sure you want to subscribe to the website, because if you don't reply to it, then you're really not getting subscribed. But once you're there, then you'll get all of the notices for all of our upcoming shows. And you'll also get the login links for the Zoom portion of our shows. If you have friends that you think would enjoy our shows, please share the Zoom login link that you get with them. And everyone is most welcome to attend. We're handling it this way for security reasons so that we don't get hacked. But if you'd like to share it with your friends, that's no problem at all. I have some things that I want to talk about. We really need some help here. And I know that I've talked about this in past shows, but this is getting to be a serious situation. We have a few people that are doing all of the work for these shows. We seem to be getting more people attending our shows and participating, and more people watching the recorded shows after the fact. And we're getting a lot of interest in the build-alongs. So it seems like the audience is out there. But what we need is help from the audience, not just in watching, not just in building the models, but also helping us produce these shows. We cannot continue to do these and try to do some more different kinds of activities unless we get some help from you. So this is really getting to be critical because Ed has no backup. So he can't even take a night off if he wants to, because we don't have anybody to fill in and run the shows. It is not a difficult process to do, and we need somebody to volunteer. My email is jimkello1@gmail.com. If you'll just let me know that you're interested, then we'll make sure that you know exactly what's involved and find out what you're interested in doing. So filling in for Ed occasionally, that is one desperate thing that we need somebody to be able to do. Tonight, there is a storm in Delaware, and Ed may or may not be able to continue this show. We have nobody to back up Ed. So we had to ask Phil Edhorn to please do it for us tonight, just in case. And he's agreed, just in case, for tonight. But we desperately need somebody that we can have as a backup for Ed, if for nothing else, for bad weather that comes through Delaware. Then we have the situation where we need help in getting the segments of the video that we record each show broken up so that the modelers who are doing the build-alongs can easily find out where to go and be able to pick up any information that they may have missed by looking at the recordings. But we don't have anybody right now that's doing the breakups for us. So again, Phil Edholm volunteered to do it for a couple of shows just to see if we can continue doing it. If you don't want the shows broken up, then don't volunteer, because we cannot do it with just the people that we have right now. There's just not enough time. They don't have the ability to do all of it that needs to be done. Is it difficult? No, it's not. Do I know that? No, I don't. But I am told it is not difficult. I am told that Phil can easily tell you how to do it, and that the software necessary to do the breakup of the video is a freeware, and it's not difficult to get or not difficult to use. But we desperately need somebody that can volunteer to do it, maybe on a Wednesday night, maybe on a Saturday night. You don't have to volunteer long term, but we've got to have somebody that can do it, that we can depend on to break up the shows so that we can then repost them on the YouTube channel to make sure that people doing the follow-alongs can get to where they want to go as easily as possible. Otherwise, you're going to have to, if you want to see the video, you're going to have to see the whole show, or you're going to have to go through the show to find the specific part of the show that you want to look at. So that is a critical thing. Then there's the issue of posting the build-alongs and posting information on our website. John's the webmaster. That means John posts what he gets. Right now, the only person that's feeding stuff to John is me. I don't have time to do it all. So we desperately need somebody that can help us be the person between me and John, trying to get the stuff in the format that John wants it, so that he has the time to post all of the information on the webpage. So if you're interested in helping us, those are the three critical areas that we need help right now. We are doing everything that we can to make these enjoyable, easy to view, easy to follow, and we're trying to give you as much variety as we know how to do. But we need your help. So I'm asking you, please don't just ignore this, because if you ignore it, then we're going to end up not being able to do the segments of the show, and all that you'll be able to see on YouTube is the complete show. And if there's bad weather in Delaware, you may not get the show at all if we can't get somebody that can fill in for Ed occasionally. And as far as the website, John is getting an awful lot of compliments from an awful lot of people about how great the website is and how nice they find it and easy to use. But he's got to have some help. And that help is he's got to have the information provided to him in the format that he needs it provided. I just don't have the time to do all of that and to break it down again and again in different ways for John. So we need help doing that. Otherwise, the website may not be as good as it is today. That would be unfortunate, because John has spent an awful lot of time and effort getting it to this point, and we have a lot of plans that we'd like to implement for the website, but we can't implement them without the help of people who want to see the show succeed, continue, and even get better. So that's my plea to you. My email is jimkello1@gmail.com. Please help us. Okay, the next My Bill. Now I'd like to turn this over to Chris Corse, who is the moderator for the My Bills. And Chris, thank you so much, and look forward to next week, next show for the My Bill. And I'll turn it over to you, sir.
All right, thanks, Jim. I'm trying to get the lovely. I'd actually done a presentation for this. Crap. Ed, how is it? It's been a while. Having a brain fart here. How do I get the PowerPoint up?
So click on share screen. At the bottom of your screen, there's a green thing that says share screen.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, right in front of my nose. No wonder I can't find it.
Yep, no worries.
Okay. Advanced sharing. It's giving me advanced sharing options. Let's see here. Oh, here we go. Never mind. I got it. All right. Sorry about that. All right. So you should see a screen with Mr. Clark Kooning on it. The next My Build is coming up pretty quickly, May 29th at 7 p.m. right here. And if you have a model that you'd like to share with us, whether it's one of the ones that's one of the contest builds for the Bar Mills 1 kit, which there's a $25 gift certificate for anybody that participates with a 1 kit. It's just going to be a raffle. Throw your name in a hat and send me the photos of it. I'm going to put together the slideshow. So when the time comes, we're just going to roll right on through. We'll also cover the previous My Builds or build alongs, sorry. And we will also cover extra builds. Anything else that you've built. I know I've got a couple things that if we run short on people, and then I've got some stuff I could throw up there too. But Anyway, like I said, my build, May 29th, 7 p.m. My email address is right on the screen there. Send me pictures. I'll go ahead and put it together in a slideshow. And when your time comes, I'll put your pictures up and you can talk to the slides. Thanks, Jim.
I might mention that Chris is going to be writing some material for the website, for the page that we have for My Bill. And we're going to start posting a lot of photos on that page of the models and the modelers that have shown their models on the My Bill. And you get some visibility there too. So we hope that you'll start participating and make this what Chris and I both hope this can be, and are trying to make it. So we encourage you to participate. We think you'll have fun doing it. And it could be a great evening next show to see all of the people and what they're building. So Chris, thank you so much. I also want to mention that the 2nd of June is going to be the start of our next build along. Bill Davis is going to be building a label kit of a closed vestibule baggage car. Bill's going to be building it in O scale. It's available in both HO and O scale. And Rick at LaBelle is giving a significant discount of 25% off the normal price for that car in either HO or O scale to people that want to build along with Bill. So he's going to start that June the 2nd show. Also at the same time on that show, after Bill, Jeremy Bucknell is going to do a session on passenger car underbody detail. Excuse me. And I think that'll complement what Bill is doing on the build along with his baggage car. Well, we got a great show for you tonight. And what we're going to be doing tonight is we're going to start with quick tips with Paul, and then we've got I've got a question, and then we've got Martin Breckbild, MMR, for scratch building a car, and then Greg Cassidy about what's new, and then Scott Thornton with Proto Throttle is going to be here. So we think it's going to be a great show, and we hope you enjoy it. And now I'd like to turn to Ted Becker, who's filling in again for Paul, and hear the quick tips for this evening. So Ted, welcome. Thank you for filling in. I'm sorry it's on such short notice for you tonight.
No problem. One thing I've got to say, I've gained some respect for Paul coming up with these tips twice a week. I've got about 4 or 5 more ideas, so I hope he gets over his difficulties and can come back. But anyhow, I want to talk a little bit about glue and applying glue tonight, particularly for wood structures.
And we're seeing a CNN article. Is that right?
Several buildings that I've built that are all wood kits, and this is my assortment of glues.
Ted, I think you're sharing the wrong screen.
You got CNN.
Yeah, you're sharing a CNN screen.
All right, I'll stop
Yeah,
share
there
and
you
start
go. No,
over.
Yeah, may have been on your desktop or something. I don't know.
Yeah, well, I've got dual monitors, and if I'm not paying attention, I may click on the wrong one. How about that?
That's great.
Yes,
Okay.
absolutely.
Yeah, the 3 most common glues, or there's varieties of white glue. Tacky glues, I've got 2 different kinds. These small bottles came in a set that are Eileen's. Canopy glue, you all have heard of that. And of course, yellow glues. Tight Bond 2 is my favorite. They all work equally well for gluing wooden structures together. They all have slightly different characteristics. One thing I'd like to point out that I found when I'm doing these small bits on structures, I put out a little puddle of glue. I find that the canopy glue doesn't skin over on the surface the way other glues do, at least it's not as quickly. But for applied glue, what I like to use is I have the 2 shot glasses, and you notice this one has this nice dimple in the bottom. That's perfect for putting in a little puddle of glue. And then the other shot glass holds your applicator of choice. The old-fashioned round toothpicks are hard to beat. But then we also have these newer micro brushes. They work well too. Come on. They're called micro brushes or micro applicators. They're cheap. You can get hundreds of them for a few dollars, particularly if you go to the cosmetic sections of whatever seller you're dealing with. And there's different sizes, although I have found that the different size doesn't matter that much. So the primary tip for this evening is the shot glass, to use your puddle of glue, and that about wraps it up.
Well, thank you so much. I appreciate it. And I really do appreciate you filling in on such short notice for Paul. Paul apologizes, but he's a little under the weather and no big deal, but he's going to be out for a while. So thank you so much, Ted.
Okay, did it stop sharing?
Yes.
Okay.
All right. Next, I'd like to go to I've Got a Question. And we've had 2 people with questions. One person said that they would like to see a presentation on the show of backdrop. And the person that asked for this is John Frankfurter. As you know, John is in the process of building his model railroad in S scale, and he's to a point where he needs backdrops. And he'd like some help from a modeler who knows how to do that, and guidance. And he's hoping that somebody may step forward and we can get him to do a presentation on the development of backdrops. So if anybody is interested, if you'll let me know, we'll get you scheduled or put you in contact with John to get him some help on developing the backdrops for his S-scale railroad. The other person is Bruce Crosby. Bruce sent me an email and said, I really miss Dave Silverdale and his rock making and weathering. Is he ever going to come back? Well, the answer is yes. Dave is back on the 5th of June. Right now, he's out of town. And he'll be back on the 5th of June to continue his series on rock making and weathering of the rocks that he produces. So, Bruce, thank you for your comment. And I'm glad that people are looking forward to Dave's continuation. If you have a question, go to our website, fill out the form with what your question is and who you are, and we'll get it on the show at the next possible time. The reason we're asking you to go and fill out the form is so I know how many people are asking questions and have some basis for allocating time for this segment on the show. So if you have a question, we encourage you to ask it, and we'll do the best we can to get an answer for you. Now I'd like to turn to Martin Breckfield, MMR, who may or may not be able to have a great connection tonight due to weather. But Martin, I appreciate you being here and appreciate the timing that you let me know about the weather potential problem. But thanks for being here.
We're in between waves of storms, so right now it's a clear sky, but so much for the weather report. It was pitchforks and horny toads earlier. So let's see if we can get this to behave. Come on. There it goes. So another one of the cars I've built in the last 18 months, 16 months. What month is it? It's not June yet. 15 months. Okay, so we're still got a bunch of these left over. I think I'm actually going to use one this time. Problem is I just build another handful of them anyhow. I did build that one extra base flat just to show people how I do those truss rods. So I've got more than 8, and I probably have 10 or 12 sitting around now. Very simple. We'll start off with not one of those. Apparently, after all, we have scribe siding on facing up on the 2 ends, and facing not at all in the middle. It's not scribe siding, so I'm not going to have the scribe siding on the underside of this car. I guess I was feeling lazy or something this day. The ends, well, just some Grant Line doors that I had laying around, some scribe siding, cut some holes out, drop them in, add some framing around it. You got to be careful doing this. These love to break right here or right here, and I probably did break one. They do break very easily, but it's not a big deal. You just put some glue on it, put it back together, lay it flat on your glass surface, come back in a couple hours, it's fine. I'm sure you've got something else to do. I have, that's why I have 4 or 5 projects going at any one time. I'm not going to sit around and watch the glue dry or paint dry or the grass grow. Okay, so a piece of roof stock. Well, that's the length of this car on the inside at least. And we just glue this all up using that same tight bond glue we just saw from Ted. Trying to keep it as square as you can. I've already added a little end cap on the end here. I'm not quite sure why I did that, because I think it came off later anyhow. Sometimes I'm not quite sure what it is I'm building until I actually get to the very end. It's been known to happen. And magically, we have sides that go all the way down to the very end. The ends have a coat of Pullman green on it. I'm pretty sure. Some trim work that was added after the fact. And magically, the roof's the full length of the frame now. And these are just hanging here almost in space. What goes on here is this letter board first, which then holds this end piece on in between the two. And these just sort of drop in, butt jointed up against this. Lousy as a joint that may be, I did it anyhow. I probably used a combination of goo and CA on the end and tight bond on the wood to wood joint, so out here where it's not end grain. Holes cut out for windows. I'm not sure I remember what the windows were. We're going to find out. I hadn't even done the other end yet. So you can see from the top, this is just pieced together with 4x stock. I'm not sure what width it is. It's whatever added up to being something close to make it from one end to the other end. I've got 4x stock and 4x10 to 4x24 in O scale. So it's mix and match as you need it, or just cut your own. It's not hard to do, really. And you can see from underneath, it's just looks like individual boards now, as opposed to a blank sheet of basswood. There's that end piece I added. I guess I added that because I just thought it would give these pieces something to rest on better. And of course, these are the 3 end marks. There's the center, which is where the screws go for the KD coupler, or these 2, which are the beams that are going to go here eventually, which could also be for the KD coupler. Well, I had to close up the end, so we add the railings on the end of the wall by the doors. Strangely enough, this door casting does not have a door knob. I think I came back and actually drilled a hole and put a pin in there. This is just 028 steel wire. This is brass box stock that had part of the bottom cut off with the Dremel. Line it all up. This is actually attached at the bottom with goo and CA. And then it's just drilled and soldered in place. Much to my own surprise, I didn't set my own car on fire doing that, but I don't claim to have any great skills with soldering with a small torch, but I haven't set off any fires yet. I'm working on it though. Give me time. So as I said, I actually drilled through and ran these through. It's actually pretty strong as a result. It's a pretty stiff unit. Okay, so lots going on here. 2 different shots from 2 different places at the same time. An entire underbody has been installed. We've got a K-brake, levers, hangers, platforms, queen posts up on the needle beams. For some reason, I got really industrious and actually put in nut bolt and washer castings holding the needle beams down. Turnbuckles aren't in place yet. They're just floating around on the silk thread. A piece of rectangle box stock cut, sliced off, drilled through to hold the brake wheel. A little bit of chain going to some wire here. I like to have a little bit of chain, just wrap it around the brake staff a few times. It kind of sags nicely. It gives a nice little effect, you can see. You can see the 3/64 tubing I use here as a union joint to connect the brass air hose to the airlines. I didn't solder those together. I soldered the part onto the tubing, but not onto the piece of 33 thousandths wire. Okay, up here, I added a door. Well, I decided, well, the door is not going to open, so why cut open a hole? Just build right on top of the flat surface. It's a good stable surface. It'll stay right where I put it. Got some door supports. I had a pack of these left over from Precision Scale. These are probably 3x4s. 3x4s are an interesting size. They fit into a lot of things surprisingly well. They fit into this piece of Z molding wood up here, which this 132nd piece of scribe siding slides on actually. If I had glued it in place, you could slide it through. More steel wire, lots more nut bolt washer castings, just about everywhere I could find a place that made sense to put them. Something has to hold this thing together more than glue. Okay, so lots going on again. Slap on a lot of paint. This is actually Floquil Maroon. I actually had a bottle left over. One of the old square bottles. Tells you how old it is. It's probably almost as old as I am. What I learned from using it is I dare not use it in the house again because the fumes are such that it emptied out the house and I got yelled at. Some roof walk supports, some resin roof walk supports on the middle. And I don't think the roof coating is actually on it yet. But it's kind of nice to stop and paint sometimes because it'll reveal things you forgot or errors you've made or just the way things don't look quite right. The paint will show it off for you. Sort of like the camera taking a picture every time. It will not lie to you or lie for you. It will criticize you in the most harsh way possible. Okay. 2 giant steps forward. Now there's a roof on. And this is my usual overlapping 50% napkin material, which I have a mountain of from Panera. Used to be Starbucks many years ago, but I didn't like the texture or the pattern in it. The Panera just appeals to me more, and I like their sandwiches. So it's a win-win all around. These are 3x12s, painted roof brown, a brass casting as opposed to my usual white metal casting, the Precision Scale one. And some grabs here. I've added ladders here at both ends. I'm sure there's another picture that'll show better end information. There we are. So we've got a old brass ladder, stamped brass ladder, pre-painted, mounted into place. Not much else here to see. And I think this is the final version of it. These are actually, I think, S-scale windows. They just seem to be the right window for the job. So I thought, well, I've got to find a way to get rid of some things. And part of the objective of the past year and a half of building cars was not only to have some fun building whatever the heck I felt like, but it was also to use up some things. that are just laying around the shop gathering dust. And this, I said, well, here's 2 nice windows. Well, 4 of them, 2 on each side. I can make that whole pack of windows go away with this car. I consider that a roaring success right there for this car. And some different views of the same car. Somehow these Archbar truck side frames got brown. Must have been a pair I bought that were pre-painted, because I rarely paint those. It's Delrin and it doesn't paint very well generally. And you can see the end here. There's the brake wheel. There's that little ratchet and pawl casting I like to put in. The end truss rod bolts. Your air hose. And I think this should wrap everything up if we're lucky. Nope. Another view of the underside. Yeah. Turnbuckles now are in place, and this whole thing is stained. After these are painted, splash some black, steam black on various parts. Comes back, and I hit it with Minwax Dark Walnut. I have another Minwax, but I don't know what it is because it's the leftovers of every can I've used for the last 20 years poured into one bottle. And as I kill a can, I pour it into that bottle and use it. So it's the mystery Minwax mix. And it gets used every now and then for just sealing things up or changing the appearance of raw wood. One of the things that's really terrible about basswood is it's incredibly well polished and pretty. And it's pretty rare a railroad car is that pretty. And that is the last slide. So we're done for the night. And I'm ready for whatever questions anybody might want to throw at me. And I'll hit the stop share button.
Martin, a quickie for you. Is that representing a caboose type structure, an MW car? So I noticed there were no end stairs or stirrups or ladders or access to the platform.
Yeah. That car actually has, well, a close to a prototype. That actually started off as a 2-foot gauge car, a picture of a 2-foot gauge car, a Sandy River car. And I thought, yeah, I'd like to have one of those in standard gauge. So I left the steps off. And I probably should have put them back on. But it would be a maintenance away car or whatever else I feel like lettering at this point, since I didn't letter it yet.
Well, having visited Maine on a number of occasions, there's a prototype for everything up there.
Oh yeah. Well, if it were a traction car, I would guarantee you there's definitely a prototype for it. The craziest, funkiest, weirdest cars I've ever seen have been almost exclusively in the traction category. Some of the neatest home built things I've ever seen, and every now and then I get motivated enough to tackle one just for the fun of it all.
Martin, I have a question. It was obviously intentional that you left the end walls Pullman green and the side walls local maroon. And I'd like to know I would like to know what was going on in your mind when you did that.
Oh, historically, most of my railroad cars for my Cumberland Valley branch line were painted with that Pullman green end. Not maroon sides, however, they were painted. What is the last couple of bottles I got from Floquil were called Caboose, not Caboose Red, just Caboose. But if you cross-reference the numbers on the bottle, that's actually Delaware and Hudson Caboose. So I used to use Delaware and Hudson Caboose on the sides of every car, and Pullman green on the ends. Christmassy, you know. It was interesting, and sometimes I still go back to it, or a variation of it. But I just saw the bottle of maroon, and I thought, that'll be interesting. That'll stand out a little bit. You don't see that color just floating around everywhere.
Martin, I have a question. Larry Dahl here. On the roof stock, the preformed roof stock you use, why not just extend that right out to the end of the car rather than form another 2 sections of roof at either end of it?
Could have. I just like having the hollow roof section. I just like the appearance of it. Okay. It's just a personal preference. May also have been it was a piece that I just had that was about the right size. And I decided, well, I'm not going to build a car that short, but I could stretch it a little bit and make it a little longer.
Okay, thank you.
Great job, Martin. Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Yep.
All right, now I'd like to turn to Greg Cassidy to find out what's new from the manufacturing side of the equation. Greg?
All right, Jim. I am just about 10 miles north of Martin, so hopefully we will get through this without the storms getting near me either. Okay. Good evening, all. I'm Greg Cassidy. I'd like to welcome you to What's New, a monthly segment where manufacturers can spotlight their new products that are in development or being released. I'm always looking for new items, and suggestions are always welcome. First, some new books from Garbly Publishing Company. The Garbly Publishing Company is a small independent publisher of railroad history. Since 2012, Garbly has specialized in short-run books for authors with unique or niche railroad topics, with over 15 titles currently in print. First is Conrail Business and Research Trains, the special equipment fleet by Brock Kirchner and West Reminder, coming in fall 2021. This is about 400 pages and is an 8.5 by 11 hardcover book. It goes for $80 and is available for pre-order. For all 23 years of Conrail's tenure, 1976 to 1999, the railroad maintained a fleet of specialized rail cars and locomotives equipped to test the conditions of its track, allow Conrail's management to inspect the right-of-way and facilities at the ground level, and show customers and potential customers exactly how their freight would move. The specialized rail cars in this fleet were split between Conrail's business train, often called the Office Car Special or OCS, and the railroad's research and track department. Researchers Brock Kirchner and Wes Reminder have teamed up to author this hardcover book, anticipated to reach 400 pages. It will include the author's 3 decades of combined research, making it the definitive work on Conrail's special equipment fleet. Next is the Conrail Rainbow Years, Volume 4, the Erie-Lackawanna Commuter Region by Frank Guerin, coming in late summer 2021. It's about 90 pages, is 8.5 by 11 softcover, and costs $45, but is not yet available for pre-order. The fourth in a series of titles covering Conrail's first years of operations, 1976 to 1982, this book features more of the finest in early Conrail photography. The book covers Conrail's rainbow years on the New Jersey's ex-Erie-Lackawanna commuter lines, when motive power and a variety of patched out color schemes from New Jersey DOT and predecessor railroads operated through the area. A smattering of freshly painted Conrail blue locomotives, as well as other railroads locomotives that were purchased to alleviate power shortages, added to the color palette. This book covers the entirety of Conrail's commuter territory in New Jersey during Conrail's operations under contract to New Jersey DOT, with over 140 full-color images of Conrail's unique rainbow years. And this is the railroads that ran along the edge of the road, Rail Adventures and Misadventures in New Hampshire and Vermont by Frank Kuiper, coming in June 2021. This book is 172 pages and is 11 by 8.5 inches and softcover. It sells for $60 and is available for pre-order. Accomplished railroad author Frank Kuiper spent many of his formative years in towns and cities like this throughout Vermont and New Hampshire, spending the 1940s through the 1970s moving around the area with his family. His free time was spent exploring local railroads like Springfield Terminal, Claremont and Concord, Montpelier and Bear, Clarendon and Pittsford, and even the Mount Washington Cog Railroad. His travels and interests in the region also put him in contact with the Rutland and the various branch lines of the Boston and Maine, and placed him front and center for the early formation of Steamtown and the Conway Scenic Railroad. His personal contacts with several railroad officials at the time, including the former president of the Rutland, gave him access to information as events unfolded that would drastically alter the landscape of New England railroading. A mix of over 160 color and black and white photos illustrate the stories that are woven together to paint a picture of Vermont and New Hampshire railroading in its classic era. As specialists in the railroad marketing and advertising fields, the Garbly Publishing Company also offers a number of graphic design and web design services for nonprofits and for-profits alike, as well as photographic restoration and digital retouching for both companies and individuals. You can visit their website at garblypublishing.com or email them at sales@garblypublishing.com. Next is Carolina Craftsman Kits. CCK has just designed and released 2 new Western Maryland Railway kits. This is the HO scale Laurel Bank train order office. It's based on photos of the train order office at Laurel Bank next to the boarding house on the Webster Springs branch south of Elkins. This kit has laser cut walls and Tichy windows and doors. It sells for $49.20 and is available now. And what you need beside it is the HO scale Laurel Bank Rest House, also called a bunk house or a boarding house. This was for the crews to get a hot meal and some shut-eye while waiting to make a return run. This kit has a footprint of 6 3/4 inches by 3.5 inches. It has laser cut brick walls to represent Insel brick, Tichy windows and doors, and custom cut screen doors. It sells for $86.85 and is now shipping. You can see these and more at carolinacraftsmankits.com or email Jeff Grove at jlgrove_cck@yahoo.com. Next is a new item from Locify. Got any ready to run or blue box waiting to be converted to Locify? Now there's a 3D printed mount for installing the Locify board in an Athearn. Athearn Ready to Run and blue boxes, being our most popular DC to Locify conversions, unfortunately have a big drawback. There exists no proper way to mount the Locify board. It ends up flopping around in the locomotive after a while. Well, now you can relax. We found that all or most of the Ready to Run and blue boxes have a common design. The plastic bracket has 4 small projections to hold the top motor clip. Realizing that, we have designed a mount around that and successfully 3D printed it to bring it to you. The mount makes it easy and aids in the physical installation of the Locify 2 module. The 3D printed mount for installing Locify 2 in an Athearn sells for $8. Make your Athearn blue box and Ready to Run installs easier with this 3D printed mount. The mount goes over the top motor clip and has 2 side cradles to house the module and the speaker that will stay in place. The install not only is made simpler, but it looks cleaner and more robust. Visit Locify at wifi-modelrailroad.com or email at wifi-modelrailroad@gmail.com. Next up is Monster Model Works. Monster Model Works has a new brick structure, the post office. The post office kit will retail for $69.99, but right now it's selling for $59.99. This brick post office is perfect for any small town. It could also be converted into any type of store, bar, etc., or you could change the signs and customize it for your project. The dimensions are 5.5 wide by 7 3/4 long by 3 7/8 high. The kit includes aged American Bond 3D engraved brick, aged brick corners, 3D engraved brick cornice pieces, engraved brick overlay inside the roof area, engraved terracotta coping wall caps, laser cut wood entrance floor, peel and stick laser cut pan type side door awning, peel and stick laser cut windows and doors, shutters, and tar paper roofing, rooftop pipe, porch supports, post office signs. It comes unbuilt and unpainted. You can save $10 on the post office until June 12th, 2021. Visit Monster Model Works at www.larkspurlaserart.com/monster-modelworks-products or email Jimmy@monstermodelworks.com. Last, we have Conowingo Models. Oh, sorry.
Can't hear it, Greg.
Okay. Conowingo models is,
Hey,
I'm sorry.
Greg, if you stop sharing and reshare and click on the sound when you share, then we can hear it.
Okay, I think I've got it now without having to do that. Conowingo Models is releasing 2 new kits. Bring your model railroad to life. Funky buildings and railroad cars with a unique flair. At Conowingo Models, we believe that when it comes to your model railroad, there is no substitute for real wood. Conowingo Models is releasing the Whispering Chapel and the Whitby's Mill in HO scale. The first release is the Whispering Chapel in HO scale. Shown is the first prototype. Production examples will vary in that they will have some trim and optional stained glass inserts. Based on Maroltova Kapelika, Marolt's Chapel in Slovenia, this kit was adapted for life along American rails. With a small footprint of approximately 2 inches by 2 inches, this little chapel will fit just about anywhere on your layout. Exposed brick shows some wear and tear in the building. If the builder so desires, it would be easy to cover the exposed brick for a freshly stuccoed look. The first kits will be available this weekend and MSRP is $30. Secondly, we're proud to announce that the John Allen Tribute Kit, Whitby's Mill in HO scale, will be available for pre-order this weekend. It is planned so that all kits will be shipping before June 10th. Whitby was John's middle name and it seemed appropriate mill name. Based on the mill that John built for the first iteration of the Gorian Defeated and placed on Phillips Lake, this is a duplication of his efforts utilizing modern techniques. Some items are not 100% of what John did, but we tried to find a happy medium so that all hobbyists could enjoy the build at their own pace of model railroad history, own their own piece of model railroading history. MSRP is still to be determined. Visit them at conowingomodels.com or on Facebook, or email at chris@railrunner130@hotmail.com. That's what's new for May. I'm always looking for new products to spotlight. If you or someone you know has a new item out, please contact me at gcassidy2@verizon.net. But something came in at the last minute. We have some breaking news from Ultimation. I just received these photos. If you need to make any type of cuts in your strip wood where you can get something to butt fit like this is the tool you're going to need. These are teaser photos of something that Ultimation is working on, and we'll have more information on that next month. And that's all for my presentation.
Greg, I really do appreciate it. Thank you so very much. And for all the manufacturers that contacted you, we really do appreciate them keeping us up to track.
I have to apologize for that little dip. All of a sudden, one of the slides that I had deleted all of my commentary off, hadn't deleted off that slide, and I could hear it talking, but obviously it wasn't going out. So I had to talk over myself.
Thanks again. I really appreciate it. And before I forget it, Al Collins is giving a 10% discount on his sanding product that he sells through Ultimation for all of the modelers that are building along with Rick and Maureen Hunter in their Hunterland build along. They'll be on again Saturday evening for their second show. And I think they're going to be weathering the wood on this second show. So Al's giving a discount of 10%. And if you're building along with them, you might really want to consider Al's generous offer. So now I'd like to turn to our featured modeler, Scott Thornton. This is the second time Scott's been kind enough to share with us information on his proto throttle and how it's actually used in operation this time. So Scott, thank you so much for coming again and looking forward to your discussion.
Well, thanks, Jim. I've got two screens with my name on it because I've got one at my desktop and one on my mobile phone because I'm going to demo the throttle via my cell phone. So that's why if you see my name twice, you know what's going on. But I don't know who was here last time when I introduced the proto throttle, but I'm curious to know from this group. Looks like we got roughly 31 people that are participating tonight. How many people are diesel modelers and interested in control stand operation? I don't know if anybody wants to pipe in, but I'm opening it up for a little bit of dialogue in the beginning here.
Scott, I think I piped up the last time you were on. I model diesel, but I don't have operations, but I am in a club where we have operations, and we have a number of your proto throttles in the club layout.
Okay, that's great. Well, the reason why I ask is because I didn't know if it was predominantly steam with this group or if there's a variety or how people like to operate and that sort of thing before I jumped in and talked about the proto throttle and how it performs and that sort of thing. So anybody else?
Well, at least one of us is transition era. That's 1948 to 1955. So yeah, I swing both ways.
Okay.
Yeah, I think that the line out of Notting Hill about how horse and hound was, we're equally intrigued by both species, steam and diesel.
All right. Anybody else?
I currently run diesel at John Frankfurter here. Basically, I run mine off of engine driver on my cell phone.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Well, thanks for the input. I'm going to share my screen here, and I'm just going to show you a couple slides, and then I'll switch over to my cell phone and I'll demo the throttle for you. So, let's see if I can. Here we go. Can everybody see this?
No.
We're seeing your desktop.
Yes, you see my desktop with the mess that it is.
Yep.
All right, let me get the graphic here. Okay, this guy was one of the inspirations for the development of the proto throttle. Now, this obviously is a diesel control stand, but just take a look at how grungy and nasty and they even have a little bit over here that says couldn't even spell engineer and now I are one. So the proto throttle was developed out of a desire to control diesel locomotives as realistically as possible on our model railroads. I had seen a YouTube video of a fella that lived in Arizona, and he obviously was an engineer, and he had put together a Rube Goldberg type of control stand with an NCE wireless throttle. And it had a detented throttle handle, just like the prototype, detented meaning that each notch you could feel when you move the throttle handle. And that was terribly exciting because that's exactly the type of performance that I was looking for. And I had developed a relationship with Iowa Scaled Engineering. I don't know how many of you know of Iowa Scaled Engineering. They produce a variety of electronics for model railroaders, but they also have a company called Grain Belt Models that produces 3D printed pipes and grain bins, and they're very realistic, very, very nice models. So, but I developed a friendship with the two partners, and I pitched the idea to them, could you guys help me build a Rube Goldberg type control stand throttle like I saw in that YouTube video? Well, they agreed, but they agreed with a caveat. Yeah, we'll build one or two or maybe three, maybe one for each of us, and that's it. Well, as we started to get into the development over the course of 6 months to a year, it became very apparent that we could put together a really viable product that we could offer to other diesel modelers. So that's how the proto throttle came to be. It took about 2.5 years of full development before we started to market it. We've marketed it now for roughly 3 years, and we've sold close to 700 or 800 of the units. So there's a lot of diesel modelers out there who are taking advantage of the proto throttle and utilizing it. So anyway, it was based on this, a typical EMD control stand. So if you can see my little cursor here floating around, can you guys see this? Maybe not. My little arrow.
Yes, I see it.
Okay.
Yes.
Well, down here, we have for those who aren't that familiar, now I might be preaching to the choir, and if I am, forgive me, but this is the throttle handle right here. This is below it is what they call the reverser. That's your directional, center, neutral, forward, backwards, reverse. This is the handle above it is a dynamic brake. We don't have a dynamic brake incorporated into the proto throttle because it really wasn't practical. And obviously there's other controls on a true control stand that we don't have. We have well, let me back up. The throttle and the reverser are both detented, so you can feel the notching as you move the handles. We have a spring-loaded horn handle that looks almost identical to what you see here. And then for the train brake, it's more like a true independent brake. It's not a train brake because you've got the train brake and the independent brake here. But on the proto throttle, it's only practical for model railroaders really to have I guess I'd call it an independent brake rather than a train brake. But it's still exciting to use and very realistic. In addition, we have a latched bell button like you see down here, this little brass bell. Those are punch buttons, so you can punch them to turn them on and pull them to turn them on, punch them to turn them off. And then we've got rotary light switches, and I'll show you on my personal proto throttle how we went from just a typical round knob, but we're also trying to develop some more oval knobs like you see on the prototype. So that's the basic configuration of the proto throttle. Let me see.
And does this, quick question, does this sander actually work?
No, there's no sander. Sorry. I apologize for this crude photo. I just pulled this off and I didn't realize it was low resolution, but this is how the proto throttle looks. And I'll show you my personal one when we get operating, but
Scott, I think up at the upper left, you can go that a little bit with the magnifying glasses on the upper left on the app. Why don't you just grow it a little bit?
Gotcha. There we go. It's still pixelated, but yeah. But there you go. I mean, you can get a general idea, and I'll show you mine again once we get operating. So one thing we did with the final proto throttle is we have the faceplate machined out of aluminum and we anodize it in different colors. So that way it's got a real robust feel. It feels like a real control stand rather than a plastic throttle, that sort of thing. So, and I have one more thing to show you here. This, now for those of you who happen to be Loc-Sound users and operate diesels, I'm going to talk once we get into the performance of the throttle, showing a little switcher on my branch line layout, that by compressing the speed curve, this is a screen from the Loc programmer that Loc-Sound users can use to enter parameters into their decoders. By compressing the speed curve, which is this right here, this flat boxes across the screen, in effect, what you can do is you can have a maximum miles per hour that your diesel will operate at, and you can coordinate this with the notching in the proto throttle. So for example, on my SW1200 switcher, the notches 1 through 4 are controlled through the swing you see right here on the speed curve. But then after notch 4, the speed can never increase, but notches 5 through 8 are playable just with the prime mover sound. And I hope that makes sense. But what it does is it allows you to get again, hyper realistic performance from your proto throttle, because as you're moving your engines from a start to whatever full speed you have maxed them out on this flat part of the curve, when you encounter a grade, you can notch up, but the speed isn't going to increase. So it's very realistic. Does that make sense? Or is it, or are people confused? Did I just confuse everybody?
No, it makes sense.
Okay. Okay.
Right. So basically what you're saying is that, you know, the speed stays the same, but you notch it up so you get the louder sound.
Right.
By the way, do the same. It's interesting. You do the same thing on a steam engine. When you start, if you zoom the throttle up to 128, you get a really loud percussion soundtracks. And then when you dial it down, it'll slow down. So it makes the sound like a heavy start sound. So it's the same exact thing. You're controlling the speed and the electronics, but using the higher sound settings. That makes sense.
Right. Okay, great. And then also for optimum performance with the proto throttle, with your momentums on the front and the back end. On the front end, you want to have a little bit of momentum. So when you notch up, the diesel doesn't, you know, jackrabbit start, but actually it smooth starts. But on the back end, in order to get the most realistic performance with the variable brake, you have to max out the momentum on the back end, so the deceleration. And you'll see that when we do the demo with my mobile phone, because that allows the brake to really come into play with the throttle. Now, this is completely different from standard throttles, you know, just your typical DCC throttle. With the proto throttle, because it is notched like the prototype, you always know where you're at in terms of controlling the locomotive. When you're dealing with a variable knob, it's very difficult to know where you're at in the sequence. So keep that in mind. So with that, if you'll bear with me, I'm gonna switch over to my phone. So just hang in there with me. Okay. Okay. Mute my. Okay. Can you guys hear me okay?
Yes.
Sounds good to me.
Sounds good to me. There was slight echoing when you first started, but it's now gone.
Yeah. I'm going to leave on that one. There we go. Am I still here?
Yep.
Yes,
Okay.
you are.
All right. So again, forgive me, my layout is under construction, so I'm going to turn up the lights here. Okay. So here is my proto throttle. Now, one thing I've done with mine is a lot of typical EMD diesels have seafoam green interiors, and on my SW1200 that was the case. So I painted my throttle plate seafoam green, and then I beat it to heck and weathered it up, so give it a more realistic appearance. And you can see here I'm 3D printing, playing around with some of the knobs on the throttle. So that's why this oval one's down here next to the round one. So I'm going to fire this up, and hopefully you'll be able to see this screen. Now you see that little proto throttle comes on, and then on the screen here, it shows the engine that's currently programmed into the throttle, the 250. It gives you the battery power. Some auxiliary buttons over here you can map different functions to. The 6 p.m., that's my layout pass clock. So what we'll do here is, you can see the diesel down the track there. I'm going to turn on the engine, and hopefully you'll be able to hear it fire up. Okay. See if I can put together a little. There we go. Okay, so we've got down the track here. This is our train, this little SW with the two cars. Now, what we can do is the throttle has, you can program in total independent control of your lights. So this is front, this is rear. And since the diesel cab is facing us, you know, it goes from dim to bright with ditch. So if I flip this on, I don't know if you can see that, it came on with the dim light, and then I switch it again, goes to bright, and then finally the bright with the ditch. And again, we've got the spring-loaded horn here. We've got the latched bell. I hope you can all hear that. And then here's our variable brake. It's disengaged.
Excuse me, are you using your, Scott, are you using?
What's that?
Your earbuds?
I'm not hearing anything.
Scott, are you using your earbuds?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yeah, why don't you take the earbuds out? Because the earbuds actually use more like a bone mic. So they don't pick up extraneous sounds. It's probably better just to use the speakerphone, and then we have a better chance of hearing it.
Can you hear now? I'm sorry. Can you still hear me now?
Yes, we can still hear you.
Okay, so I'll do it again. So we got the horn, you can hear that?
Yes.
And the bell. And then when, you know, you can program different sound functions into the brake and other functions, like there's an air let off when you use this, and you'll hear it more when I bring the train down the track. So now, since we're faced backwards, I'm going to throw the reverser into reverse, and then I'm going to notch up, and I'm going to notch up to about 5 or 6 just to get our train. I hope you can hear that. Then we're going to notch back. But every notch coordinates with the prime mover sound.
I'm not hearing anything.
Well, it's kind of hard. I apologize, but I'll try and get closer. Can you hear?
Barely.
I wish I had a better mic, guys. But now I just put it into idle. So since we have the deceleration up to max, it'll keep coasting until I hit the variable brake here. And then if we go back and we flip her into reverse and we remove the brake or release the brake. I'll try and get closer here, sorry. Then when we notch up,
Yeah, I'm hearing it now.
yeah. I wish I had a dual screen on there. So now, if I go into idle again, it's going to coast. And then we can apply the brake with some brake squeal. So again, I'm sorry, guys. I apologize if you can't hear that too well. I don't have professional mics here, but that's the basic control of the throttle. Now, we've added some additional features for you hyper realistic operators. In the latest firmware, we've got a brake test, which
you can hear once the brakes test starts, you get a gauge and it pumps up the air to 91 PSI, and you can hear the compressor going off in the engine.
Yes.
And then when it gets to 90, then we can release the brake and it'll come down approximately 20 PSI. So when I release this, it's going to go down and then it's going to start to pump back up again. Once I engage the brake. Once I release the brake, it'll pump back up. So this simulates, doing a brake test before a train moves.
That's neat. That really is neat.
Yeah. And we have over here again, we have an auxiliary button up here that you can program to different functions. Let's see. Hang on a second. Gonna let that go all the way up here. And it's random, so sometimes the PSI won't make it all the way to 90. Sometimes it'll go to 91 or 92. Soon as it gets up there, we'll shut it off. There we go. All right. Okay, and so we have this auxiliary button. It's up here that's latched as well. So you can assign functions to this button as well. A lot of low sound users use the drive hold up here. And that's about it. So if you guys have any questions, I'll just power this down. See if I can switch over here. Actually, let me turn off the engine. So I hope that was worth it, guys.
Scott, let me ask you a question. How long would it take me from the time I get one to be able to get my first diesel ready to operate?
Oh, it wouldn't take you long at all. Probably just getting used to the throttle and reading through the manual and getting things set up. It might take you an hour.
Okay.
Scott, Greg, I have a question.
Sure.
You say you're playing around with some different 3D printing for the grabs on some of the levers. If some of your customers were interested, is that something you could possibly offer as a service? If they wanted their throttle ends to be a certain way, they could send you a design, and for a certain fee, you could print them something that would screw on to the various posts that they want to change?
That's a good question. I'm not sure, because we actually do offer a variety of handles for the throttles, different colors, brass.
You do. Okay. Yeah. Now I know we have different face plates, but I didn't know different handles were available. That's nice.
Right. Yeah. And the ones that you saw on my throttle, the oval ones and the reverser that has the flared sides, you see a lot of reverser keys that are like that. And I'm gonna 3D print those and offer those eventually, but it's like anything, just getting the time to get it completely done and getting it perfect. You know, I want it perfect. So.
And for an extra fee, could someone order one beat up like yours?
Actually,
would you attack it with a knife for extra money?
Yeah, actually, I am going to offer that. That's one thing that
really, okay,
the three of us, yeah, we're gonna. I've done a number of weathered faceplates. We did several for Lionel Strang's fundraising. I don't know if many of you are familiar with Lionel Strang. You know, had stage 4 cancer. He's the proprietor of a Modeler's Life podcast, and for the last 2 years, we've donated several throttles with weathered faceplates to an auction to raise money for their cancer research. So, that's got me started. So I've been doing weathered faceplates for others too. So we haven't really promoted it, but yeah, I'd like to start doing that to anyone who's interested.
All right, thank you.
Yep. Is there
an Alco version?
Say again?
Is there an Alco version?
No, there isn't, unfortunately. We had to choose something to base the throttle on, and it's a one-time deal, so we went with the EMD. So sorry about that. The Alco users are, out of luck, I guess. Alco's got those real long throttle handles too, some of them, and that'd be tough. The EMD is predominantly the diesel that a lot of diesel modelers have, so that's what we went with.
Scott, what was the name of the company that you went to, the electronics company that helped you develop the prototype?
Iowa Scaled Engineering, and you can get to their website at iascaled.com, and it's 2 partners, Michael Peterson and Nathan Holmes. Good guys, great customer service. They were the ones, the three of us developed it. They were the ones that really got this thing to fruition, because Michael and Nathan are both electrical engineers. They're the smart ones. I'm a designer by trade, so I'm in the creative field. So I couldn't design a circuit board if my life depended on it, So those guys are the ones who did all the electronic design and all the programming for the throttle, and they actually do all the assembly and the customer service, and they do a great job. They're great guys, and yeah. So and our customer service, our warranty is, if anything happens to your throttle, we'll take care of you. End of story. That's the warranty.
Scott, their website is iascaled, SCALED.com.
It's actually in the chat.
Okay.
Yeah, it's IA, like abbreviating Iowa, scaled with an ED. I mean, scale with an ED on the end.com.
Got it. Thank you.
Yeah.
Anybody have any more questions for Scott?
And again, I'm sorry about the convoluted presentation. I wish I had a better setup, but I know when somebody's moving a camera around and it's jiggling everywhere, it's a little disconcerting. So
it seemed to work pretty good. It was difficult hearing the sounds of the locomotive, but I really am impressed with the level of detail in your layout, I must say. I know that's not what you're selling, but
oh yeah, I could give you, if you want, I can give you I can show you my signature scene if you guys are interested, because
what kind of track are you using there?
I hand laid all my track.
Okay, because I saw the ties look pretty individualized.
Yeah, I'm modeling I'm a prototype modeler, and I'm modeling a short branch line of the Iowa Interstate Railroad that runs 12 miles from Rock Island, Illinois to Milan, Illinois, which is just south of Rock Island. So if you guys know the Quad Cities, that's the locale. And they have a small branch line there, runs 12 miles, and for 10 years, the year I'm modeling is 2003. And for 10 years, that branch was serviced almost exclusively by the 250, the little SW1200 that I had running there. Although I will have an occasional appearance with some Jeep 10s because they also ran Jeep 10s during that area. And I love Jeep 10s. So, but the branch is very interesting because even though it's only a 12-mile branch, it serviced a huge variety of industries, everything from chemical to steel to scrap to food to lumber. So it's like the quintessential branch line for somebody who wants every car type imaginable. So yeah, I'll just show you my signature scene here. I'm going to flip this, which is the branch line had circa 1912 lattice truss, steel lattice truss bridges that span the Rock River. So here's my model of the Rock River. And then here are my models of the lattice truss. And so it's such a unique bridge design that I had to model it. And I think it turned out pretty well, you know, tried to get them.
That's great. That's fantastic.
Yeah. And so I had a lot of fun building the river scene here. This is really the first layout I've ever built. But again, I've got an art and design background, so I can, you know, I wanted to model the transition between, you know, the trees that overhung the river, you know, really made the river look green. But then when you looked off into the distance, it would transition to the blue of the sky. So I don't know if you can see this. When you get down low, you know, the transition is nice.
Yeah.
And then I 3D printed my my bridge abutments, and then I put a scratch coat of spackling compound on them, and then sanded it down and chipped it and weathered them, you know, and that worked really well. Then over here, I've got the quintessential, the ever-present pigeons with pooping everywhere, little runoff, but I wanted just to try and represent the scene pretty well. I also have ambient sound. You probably can't hear this, but there's a spill dam that's just upriver from these bridges. So you constantly hear the rush of the water and the birds. So I installed a little switch here on the fascia. So when you switch that on, you can hear I don't know if you can hear the birds in this here. But it adds a nice flavor to the scene. I'll turn it off here. And so that's the scene. Are you still there? Can everybody hear me? Okay.
Very nice. Very, very nice.
Thanks. You guys might also be interested to know, I have I love cloudy, windswept days. So what I did was my backdrop, I have another artist friend who actually drew it in Photoshop for me, or painted it in Photoshop, because I wanted cumulus clouds along with real high clouds, you know, like cirrus clouds way in the back. And so the backdrop is really interesting. And then these LED lights, I've got 12 of these 2x2 panels that I have mixed, 7 lights on one circuit and 5 on another. And the Iowa Scaled boys built me an Arduino that makes these, that varies these. So it gives you the impression that the shadows are moving. So when I come up here and I switch it over, it will, the light will come up and down, like as if the clouds were moving across the sky. I hope that makes sense. But if you were here, and I don't know if you can see that changing, but the light's actually changing as we're standing here. randomly. You know, the intensity goes up and down. Do you see that?
I don't.
Okay. Well, it's a subtle thing, but you can
I can
kind
see
of,
the changes there. It's really, really something.
yeah, if you were here, the effect is quite stunning because it makes you feel like the clouds are actually moving. So, you know,
It
again,
is very subtle, but it can be seen.
yeah, and
Very,
the
very nice.
camera doesn't do a good job. And then I also have some other things that you guys might be interested in. I was inspired by a guy named Trevor Marshall. Some of you might know him, but most of the switch stands on the Mylon branch were your typical Target ones like this. And so I actually purchased and painted G-scale switch stands, and so they operate. So like I can move these, and then, you know, then it throws the points. So it's a nice little feature. The operators can actually move the switch stands. So, and finally, I'm going to have night ops eventually on the layout. So when we, you know, because they ran a lot of trains at night on the Mylon branch. So I've got a little LED here. Let's see if I can, the batteries might be out on it right now. Let me see here. Typically, it's not working. I must have ran out of battery juice, but I've got LEDs up here that are blue. And so when I turn this off, the effect is amazing because it looks like night, but you can still see and operate just fine. So I'll see if that light will transition at all for you guys again. Sometimes it's very dramatic, and most of the time it's really subtle. Sometimes it's real dramatic, but anyway, that's a little tour. So
It's a magnificent modeling. You ought to really be proud of that, Scott.
Oh, well, thanks. I appreciate you guys showing interest.
Yeah, it's very nice.
In fact, while we're here, I could show you some other. I don't know, how much time do I have, Jim?
Go ahead.
Okay. I just recently, let me flip this back over, purchased, there's a company out of England called Model U. Is anybody familiar with that?
Yep.
They make these incredible 3D figures, and they create these figures by taking, they actually take a camera and they use actual people where they photograph them 360, and then they make these figures for modelers. And these things are absolutely amazing. So I bought some of these to use for signature scenes. I mean, look at this guy. I mean, he's got a radio in his hand. And anyway, so that's a neat little thing. Thought you guys might like to see that.
Absolutely.
This one with his leg up, he's going to end up as an engineer. See how he's got one arm he's going to have on the window in one of my Jeep 10s. And then I'm going to have his leg up so you'll be able to look through see that guy. So yeah, this gives you an overall shot of the layout room. Lots of work to do on the scenery, but we'll get there eventually. So anyway, that's all for me.
Anybody have any questions for Scott? Well, Scott, I really do appreciate you coming back and showing us the throttle in actual operation. Thank you so very much for your time.
Oh, you're welcome, Jim. Appreciate it.
Well, our next show is Saturday, May the 29th. Our featured modeler is you. We're doing, Chris is doing the My Bill segment, and he's going to have the general session for all of the modelers who want to show their models. And then he's going to have two special segments, one for Bob Farquhar's Build Along, and another one for Gaylord Gill and Randy Bosler's Build Along. So I hope that you'll come and see that and participate in all three of those. Rick and Maureen Hunter will be here for their second appearance. And this one's going to be weathering of the wood, I believe. Fred Cosgrove is going to be here talking about traction modeling. And we're going to have Ted back replacing Paul for right now with another quick tips. So I hope you'll join us. And I hope you'll also visit our website, newtracksmodeling.com, for more information on the additional build-alongs that we've got scheduled, the hobby shops that we now have 5 of them that we've got scheduled coming up. And we're also going to have some great remembering the old kits, including the build of a Lowball 060. So we'll have all of that information on the website and hope that you'll check it out. And we will look forward to seeing you next show. Thank you so much for being here.